Alrighty, let's see. They have a faster comp. Yeah, slightly. It's fine. So particularly with artillery and squishy artillery in general, starting out in like this J5-ish area is usually best. You can get shots into their guys over here, and you can sort of give some overwatch to your guys as they go through the middle there. So that's usually the whole problem is that figuring out when to leave there usually. Hey Rat, what's up? So your Chaffee move forward, you have a really even dispersion, which on South Coast isn't that good. You got a lot of your armor tanks going down this west side, which is also usually not that good. Let's see how far. You're not really going to have shots on that guy. Going to this lane, the best place for you to go is over by where these guys are. That'll give you the best shots on the hill. You don't want to sit back where this IS-3 is. You don't get shots until your team's basically dead. You probably could have stopped there and taken that shot, especially when you think that they're going to be immobile for a while. Like that M41 Bulldog was obviously training in on one of the E25s or something. You probably had enough time to stop there and shoot. You need to be careful about getting, like, keep an eye on that guy back there. He's not in any place where you can shoot him right now, but he might, you know, end up coming back around to your side. Your heavies are matching up against a bunch of mediums on the beach, which theoretically should be an advantage for them. And you want to be careful to not get lit here. If you do get lit, go over into this area right here. You also have to be wary, because, like, watch this ELC. You can, if you sat to the left a little bit more, you can get a shot on that ELC as he comes across. You need to be careful going through here. You'll get lit as soon as you pass in front of this house right here. You can shoot this guy, but not over the front of your tank. Just the depression on the tank sucks. I'm guessing you don't have Sixth Sense. Lol. Run away! The low can shoot you right now. Run away! You can pen that. Oh, not that. The low has... Look at this guy though. This guy right there. And then whenever you don't have Sixth Sense, pretty much after you fire, you should just move. You know, just because you don't know if there's some other tank someplace that could have let you. Especially, see how you're in profile here? So if they have somebody up there, they can actually spot you through the back of your tank and you won't know. So you have to be a little bit careful with that. These guys get wide. It's like you should presume that you're lit right now. Well, okay. Obviously you're lit right now. You probably fix your gunner. Like you're overexposing yourself a bit too much here. Especially again, you know, if you know that you don't have Sixth Sense, you got to be really careful with how you position your tank. This ELC is just like doing laps around your guys' base. He'll cross over in front of you. Just wait till he gets to the other side of that thing. So you didn't want to back up there, because if you back up there, that ELC will spot you. Ooh, that looked like one of my shots. You basically want to wait till he gets behind that hill and then back up to the position that you're in so that he doesn't light you before he comes out on the other side. told that ELC has done like 2 laps through your base now. And that's fine, you can compact the defense a little bit. You probably don't want to be front line at this point. But you do need to be someplace, like, you probably need to set up on this side over here just to spot them if they push in on this side. Because you'll have lights on the other side. And your ISU buddy is still at full health at least. You just want to be careful because it'll be really easy for them. I mean, the Carnivore will take a while to get there. The Dickermax will probably also take a while to get there. Not entirely sure where you're going right now because you're going to the same place where your buddy is, but you know, again, my point is that they could very easily just drive in through here. They could very easily drive in through here. Good job. Hide someplace. You want to get as close to this wall as you can. You also want to try to avoid knocking over trees. So the Bulldog is up here, which suggests that they haven't pushed down this side. You could try to find, let's see, the IS-2. We don't have a report on the IS-2. So the Bulldog should actually probably be about right here right now, so you can see down this lane and this lane. You just need a little bit of advance notice. Lol, and this ELC still alive. Number 1 ELCNA. So the IS-2 presumably has moved up to this area over here. The ELC will probably cross back in front of you now. So what you want to be able to do is start picking them off as they come across a plane at you. Like somebody's going to come up here. It'll be either the IS-2 or the ELC. The fact that you haven't seen the ELC yet suggests that the ELC turned around and either came up this way or went around that way. But you're not going to be able to chase down the ELC anyways, but the IS-2 is certainly a possibility. There he is. Good job. And then, so we know the Karen was coming down here, so he'll probably come up this side. The SU is on the other side. And the ISU will probably, I'm sorry, the IS-2 will probably be over here. I think the Karen still has a decent amount of health. Oh, I guess not. I guess we only got 300. Good job. And then I would actually go back the other way, because I think the ISU is still going to be over here someplace. You want to probably be as close to this Dickermax as possible. You don't want to be too far out. Oh. Whatever works. SU-100 will probably be on this side as well, would be my guess. And you just want to set up someplace close to the wall, because like where you're at really has no advantage for spotting, but you're much more open if you get lit. You can spot the same sort of area from over here and have better coverage. the sides. You should always try to figure out a way where you can watch that far side. Typically, when you're not entirely sure where someone is going to come from, but they're going to try to come. And again, you should be closer to this Dicker Max. There's no reason for you. You're not going to have any advantage from going out here, particularly if you knock over a tree. Because anybody that's over there is going to be able to see that. That was good, whether that was an inadvertent double bush or a purposeful one. But yeah, so you want to be a little bit closer to that guy, I think. And then go behind a rock or something so you can try to get safe. And then again, just so like you see how you're going around this corner. You should already have your gun pointed over here. You have a turret, so point your gun around where you think things potentially are going to be. You don't want to turn corners and then have to turn your gun. Oh no! Oh well. Nice try. Yeah, just so you went this way early, and you took too much damage when you moved up here, and especially if you don't have Sixth Sense. You want to be in a position where you can shoot tanks, and like you could have shot that, like particularly once you guys started clearing out this side, you can shoot that low from a safer area than when you're at. Like you basically expose yourself to a lot of shots from over here. And you lost about half of your health on that. And then when you decided to go back, that was fine. But you basically, this is what happened, is that so you were about right here, you started driving all the way back, you drove all the way over here, you came all the way over here, right? And then your ISU was already dead. You didn't have anybody on this back side over here. This ISU should have played a little bit further back, but that's fine. And then you got the 5100, and then you had to come all the way back. So there was a lot of K-lining on that. That wouldn't have saved your ISU, but I felt like you could have played this area a lot more effectively, particularly in preventing tanks like that, the Dicker Max from coming up here, and also the ELC from that shot your, I'm sorry, that lit your Artie from through this middle area here. Playing this line right here, if they're pushing in on multiple lines, is a reasonably good place to play, because it allows you a lot of cover from artillery and direct fire, and particularly, once that Dicker Max corpse was there, you could have used that Dicker Max corpse to basically poke out and shoot things. And so yeah, I thought that could have been a little bit better, but you did a good job. I mean, they kind of fed you by coming in one at a time, and so that worked to your advantage. So that's the good news. The bad news is it still was a loss. So these are the stats. Pretty good. Again, a lot of that damage was really late game though. I think it was like 1v5 at the end or something like that. So it's just one of those things where a lot of times you have to try to find ways to apply your damage as early as you possibly can. I'm not really faulting you for that. in this particular tank, in this particular match, the way the teams dispersed, you really didn't have a whole lot to go off of. But in general, I think that's what you want to do. The problem that I think a lot of people have playing this second German tank destroyer line is that they play too far back and too passive, and so they end up dealing a lot of damage in the late game, but they don't actually have an effect on the game. Well, they rarely have an effect on the game, or they have less of an effect on the game than they could have, and so it's about playing it smartly. But good shot efficiency, which is always good to see. So GG. Alright, next one will be KV4 on Ruinberg. No, we'll probably won't be doing a second round of replays tonight, just because I still haven't eaten dinner yet, so I'm gonna probably grab some food after this. Alright, Winterberg Encounter. This is actually probably a pretty good matchup for the KV4. Your top tier. They do have a relatively big artillery, but artillery doesn't help affect you that much over on this side. You can play the city if you want, but you're given the fact that they have kind of a heavy comp, you probably actually want to come over on this side, and hopefully your Pershing and your Type go out here to secure this side. In the KV4, you don't really have you don't have the top turret either, huh? Look at that. Well, we'll see how that plays out. So what's the base gun on the 122 is 175, 217. So this is the same gun as like the IS-6, IS-3. Is what good to be aggressive or passive? In most tank destroyers, you're not. It's not really fruitful to be aggressive. In anything that's not turreted, it's being aggressive usually doesn't pay off. But like everything that we talk about, it's all situational. There's some times where it's just like, you know, what needs to be done is, like, let's say there was some tanks around this corner, but you have a bunch of tanks here that don't want to go around the corner. Sometimes even if you're in a non-turreted tank destroyer, you know, that doesn't have any armor, like a Dicker Max or something, sometimes you need to be the person that goes around, otherwise people just won't. And so it's situational, and if it calls for it and you think that it's going to give your team some advantage, you should do it. Shoot the drive wheel. You want to shoot just a little bit more to the right so that you can hit that front wheel, and the reason being is that you'll make him burn a kit, a repair kit, or... Oh, you still could have shot this. See how he turned his wheel away from you? Whenever they do that, you can shoot through it. And so since you have a soft turret, you actually kind of want to bait him to shoot the front of your tank. He has a similar gun to you, the 175 pen gun. You can shoot the lower glaciers right there. That's an interesting choice. And you want to be careful, you're going around with a little bit too much of your own drive wheel here, so that he can just shoot you through that. And then you can push up to the next one, but you're going to have a tough matchup against this KV4. You have to be careful when you push up here, you don't control this 6 line or the other side at all, so... Oh, look, there they are. This guy's gonna be really difficult for you to pen frontally with your current tank. If the best place for you to shoot, well, I guess that's one way to do it. You probably high rolled them just a little bit there. There's a machine gun port on the front. It's actually best if you hold these guys back in the middle. The KV2, Super Pershing, like these guys that are next to you, this KV4, T20, IS, T150, they're not pushing, right? But if you can get these guys down, that'll actually help your team. And again, like I said, I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of success against this guy. That's the machine gun port that I was talking about, which is good. But see, these guys I think are wrecking your team behind you, which is the problem. Yeah, from that angle. So you have to remember you don't really have a super pen gun. You also have APCR, and now would be the time. Well, this situation is when you wouldn't use it. You still should go look off these guys over there. If you go over here, you're not really artillery safe, among other things. You guys are sort of dying behind you. That's fine. Just go ahead and be aggressive here. Yeah, you want to be careful. You don't want to lead with your drive wheel. So what you want to do, it's kind of think of it like, you know, taking a turn in a racing car. You kind of want to go out a little bit and turn in, cut the corner, so that you come around with more of your front armor and less of the drive wheel. Sort of like what you're doing right now. See how he doesn't really have the drive wheel to shoot at. You should angle just a little bit more. And IS isn't really going to pen you. You should kill the IS because you're not. If you could one-shot the T20, that would be one thing. Oh, you can one-shot the T20 now. You definitely can't not kill either of them. And the good news is everything is still in front of you. You're doing it again where you're leading with your drive wheel. And you want to push forward here. You want to push into the lane that they're in and get behind. Well, actually, I guess maybe not. Because you're in an artillery lane, but it's probably less of a concern than these guys that are in front of you. The T-34 is pushing out. And you want to just keep backing up here. No, you want to get as close to this wall as possible. So, right, there's no reason for you to get closer to this guy. Because the closer that you are to him, right? Because you just have to shoot anywhere on his lower hull, basically. But he has to snipe you. So you don't want to be close to him. There was no reason why you couldn't just keep backing up there. He might have still hit it. The other thing is that you want to be careful. You allowed yourself to get hit by artillery right here. You allowed yourself to get hit by artillery right there. It would have been better, I felt, to come back through here. You should have been able to clean up these guys. These guys weren't pushing. The KV4, IS, T20, and whatever that fourth tank was that was over there. They weren't pushing. So if you cleared up this area, you actually probably could have gone back and cleared out this area before these guys had been able to react. Instead, you did this sort of motion to come around here, which again, as I was saying, this lane is not very safe, so you don't want to hang out there if at all possible. And you could have been a lot safer by clearing out this side and then going up through here to counter push their team coming through there. And so these are the stats. So you did pretty good, considering that you had the IS-3 122 on there. The KV-4 has its own gun. I forget what it is exactly, but it's actually pretty nice. You need the upgraded turret in order to get it, obviously. But I actually like the KV-4. I think it's a really solid tank. It's got a good armor layout. Just one of the things, as I was sort of mentioning, just for you to focus on is Be careful when you take corners. You never want to take corners going out with your side in a tank like this. It's a similar situation like if you're in a heavily armored tank like the 4502B, you know, something that's got that really good meaty frontal armor. You actually want to swing out a little bit so people can't shoot you through that drive wheel and then just drive straight into it. It requires you to get a little bit further out from the corner, but as you come around, they basically don't really have much to shoot at, and that's something that's really useful for the KV-4, especially once you get the upgraded turret, because it's difficult to pen it frontally like that. But overall, I mean, you did a pretty good job, so GG. Well, I mean, I think that's a good point that Saratov just brought up. It's, you know, especially when you know that your gun is, well, when the matchup for your gun is bad, like you taking on that KV-4, even though you did pretty good damage to him because you had a high roll on the turret crown and then you shot the machine gun port, but I think you had 2 other shots that ended up bouncing. And that's time that you could have spent doing other things. And I think it's a lot of it is threat assessment. If you think that KV-4 is in a position to hurt your team, then that's one thing. But really what was killing your team was the fact that they were getting shot on the side. Like that, I think it was like a JT-88 or something that was next to you. You know, your team getting shot on the side from those guys on that E-line, F-line, that was really hurting you, I think. Alright, so M103 on Siegfried line. Alright, tier 10 game, pretty much the same comp. So you can play a number of areas. Generally with the heavy, I usually start in this area over here. You can see if they try to push across and get a shot. You can also peek through into here. You just have to be careful because if they move their artillery far enough east, which is kind of rare, people don't really do that, then they can shoot down into this lane. So you just have to be cognizant of that. It also allows you to keep an eye on this 5-6 line as well, depending on what your field team does. Saying other people's names to be advertising is just really just linking, I think, is considered the faux pas. But I don't really care that much. As long as you're not, you know, blatantly self-promoting.
It's a trap!
You're not really going to have a shot on that guy, and you have to be careful because there's a slight window there where you can get shot. The nice thing is, see this little overhang of buildings or of little sort of windows right here? It's actually really good artillery protection. You can get a shot. No, get a shot on the T-32. Get a shot on the T-32. Or this guy. Either or. So you kind of shank that shot a little bit, but it's fine. You just have to be careful. So going back to this well multiple times, artillery will eventually get you. You can shoot the T-32. There you go. So there's a lot of guns there. So you should have done the first shot of damage and then probably just called it a day. But it's important to be able to do that sort of target selection quickly and decide, okay, I'm gonna have a shot on this guy or that guy or whatever. And so where their E50 is at is not a good position for him, but you have your armor basically angled out right now. So he's basically just shooting. Oh, I guess he shot on the far side of the lower glaciers, but you need these guys to push in. They've got much more guns than you have right here.
It's a trap.
And you want to be careful with when you fire, because other people are gonna see you fire, right? And then you need to have some suppression. So if you fire, you need to be sure that it's going to deal damage. So their IS-8 is one shot. See how their E-50 backed off though? T-32 is not really paying attention. It might be worthwhile to try to get that IS-8 out if you can.
It's a trap.
Not the Bulldog, not the T-32. The IS-8. The IS-8 just shot too, right? So you can shoot the IS-8. You're fixating a little bit too much, but see now the IS-8 has gotten away.
It's a trap.
The Bulldog is shooting HE. He's not really much of a threat. I wouldn't worry about it. The T-32, yeah. So you're fixating way too much on that corner over there. If the T-32 is getting away right now, he's just driving away. The IS-8 is also potentially vulnerable. And if you could take him out, that would be fantastic for your team.
It's a trap!
And so you went out with your drive wheel there, which is what we were just talking about for the last guy. And now you're getting flanked, which is also not so good. Keep pushing forward, keep pushing forward. And then you can stop right there if you want. Well, like right there, but... Yeah. Ram him. Oh, you should have rammed him. And you want to try to rub him off on this tank right here. There you go. Good job. Don't pull too far back. Well, actually, I guess you have no choice since they've cut it. There's like a 704 behind you. You always want to try to shoot drive wheel there if you can. Yeah, you always want to try to face him as well. If you think that somebody's trying to do an end around on you like that, you can also just drive into them. That usually accomplishes two things. One, you can slow them down, and two, it makes sure that your frontal armor stays square to them. Yeah, I just don't think you traded that well over here. I mean, your guys kind of got crushed behind you, and that eventually led to that STI being able to get around behind you. I felt like you could have taken that IS-8 out earlier. I think you have to look for... You have to be opportunistic, like poking out into 3 guns, you know. The first time was fine, right, because they didn't really, you know, they weren't focused on you at that time. Poking out that second time, they were all focused on you, and you probably took more damage than you needed. You needed to take your time on that T-32 to get that shot. You fixated too much on the Bulldog, but otherwise, you basically, like, it's unfortunate that you had some guys in the field. If you actually had a little bit more on your side, you actually probably potentially could have counterpushed. Or like when I think it was your T-54, some sort of medium was over here. That if he had more support through that side, then that would have been a great flank against that T-32 IS-8 combo. Because then you guys can work from this area right here and the position where you're at. But that's sort of the things that you're looking for, not just for your teammates to do. It's like if you're the medium tank, like you have to watch the map and look for opportunities like that and try to create them, not just benefit from them as you can. And we'll let this Patton drive around to wherever he's going to drive. Full health. And so these are the stats.
One of our tracks is damaged.
The Patton did a whole 1,300 damage. And looks like you're getting capped out. Yeah, I mean they got a more consistent effort from their team. I think charging forward was fine. I think the mistakes were made a little bit earlier on in terms of the fixation, especially on the Bulldog. There's no reason for you to fixate on that Bulldog. You could have gotten the T-32. You probably could have killed the T-32 if you didn't fixate so much on that outside lane, especially once their E50 or whatever it was that was out there went down. You know, it's more important for you to get that IS-8 out. Or the E50 actually didn't get killed. He backed off to the other side, and then he was over by where that T-32 was ultimately. But nice try, GG. I think that's where you were at though. That corner is a good corner to play, especially if once you establish that they don't have their artillery in the outside. But yeah, just work on being opportunistic. I know I say that a lot for pretty much every review, and I mean when I watch my own games, I see that a lot as well. It's just, you know, identify when, hey, jumping out here and taking a shot will be a good thing, and hey, jumping out here and getting shot, right? It's the exact same motion, it's the exact same mechanic, but one is a very good idea and one is a very bad idea, and it just depends on what is happening in the game and that's around you.